So the title obviously sounds like clickbait. It seems like a grabby exaggeration aimed at entrapping the interest of YouTube viewers with a hint of truth and not much else. But sadly, it isn't. The truth is, your Xbox, your phone, your Amazon Echo, and a bunch of other devices can and are used to spy on you while recording personal conversations that are then verifiably listened to by outside sources and contractors. This may seem a little bit off topic for the channel. It ties back into gaming, sure, with the focus being on Xbox for the latest individual instance, but the reason I'm making this video more closely revolves around the fact that I myself play a hefty amount of my games on an Xbox One. So the idea that it might have been, or might still be for that matter, listening to the things that I say and do in the solitude of my own home is disconcerting to say the very least. The revelation comes after a report was published on Vice wherein Microsoft contractors came forward to disclose that they had been tasked with listening to customer private conversations secretly recorded by the Xbox console. The issue centered around certain devices with voice capabilities enabled, listening for tag phrases such as Xbox on, except these phrases were often misconstrued by the device, resulting in long recordings of household conversations and other activities that were both unintended and unwanted. The issue is compounded by the fact that these conversations are being listened to by independent contractors, which means not only is the data being recorded and stored, it is then being shared with multiple parties. The justification is device improvement. The idea is that by listening to these conversations and gathering whatever data possible, Microsoft could refine the voice features of the Xbox One in a meaningful way. And they've since claimed that the listening contractors largely ceased operations a number of months ago, but without a fundamental change in the software, it provides little to no reassurance that this is not continuing to happen, or at least is capable of being initiated again at any time. This is not unique to Xbox by any stretch. The truth is, devices like your iPhone, your Android phone, or an Amazon Echo, when activated, are in a state of constantly engaged listening, and what exactly they do with the sound that is picked up is unclear. The fundamental issue is that for a voice command system to work, it has to be carefully listening to everything that you do at all times. If the goal of an Xbox Connect or its voice program or whatever it is to allow you to say Xbox on and then access your library, the Xbox has to listen for you to say Xbox on. The same goes for an Amazon Echo. If it is to control the lights, when you say, Alexa, dim the lights, it has to hear you say that. And a great many individuals might not care about this, citing a lack of importance to what the device might even hear from their home or possibly record, but there are numerous instances in which these devices have picked up extremely private information, stored it, and then that information has been reviewed and listened to by human contractors who should not have that information. There are a great many examples for almost all of the major tech companies. Apple, for instance, with its phone program Siri, had a wave of scrutiny after a contractor came forward stating the following: "There have been countless instances of recordings featuring private discussions between doctors and patients, business deals, seemingly criminal dealings, sexual encounters, and so on. These recordings are accompanied by user data showing location, contact details, and app data." Amazon acknowledged that Alexa has been listening to private home conversations as well, with the purpose of analyzing a portion of that data to improve the program, but the analysis is not just an algorithmic application, it is a series of human users listening to the private conversations of Amazon customers in their home without informing them. Google, perhaps one of the worst offenders of all when it comes to data usage and collection, has also admitted to having human contractors review the audio recorded by Android phones, which are listening for the tagline "OK Google" from users attempting to utilize the feature. The often cited defense by these companies, including Google, is that it's a very small percentage of user data that is reviewed by actual humans. But this does not alleviate much of the concern because, for one, it is still taking place, but more importantly, that means the data is being stored and might be accessible during a data breach, which happens all too often in the modern big tech industry, to a party with legitimate malicious intent. The issue of recording private user conversations, however, goes even further. Microsoft has also acknowledged that contractors sometimes review Skype calls, a program designed to facilitate peer-to-peer calling over the internet. And with the similarity between Skype and traditional phone communication being so high, the fact that Microsoft is having human personnel listen to these conversations, even with the claimed defense of using the data to improve translation features, or whatever it may be at the time, they just kind of select one out of the hat like, this is why we're doing it this time. It is effectively identical to someone from the phone company wiretapping your phone. Wiretaps, from a governmental perspective, require a warrant signed by a judge, and the defense might be entertained that big tech companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or Apple have a complex click-through agreement that allows them to gather this data and review it, which is mostly true. The disclosure that human independent contractors will also be able to listen to everything that you say when the program mistakenly turns on is not disclosed anywhere that I could find. Facebook is also in the mix, having been the recipient of allegations that the app uses smartphone microphones to collect user data in a similar way. However, the company denied the allegations, and unlike Microsoft or Apple or Google or Amazon, there is no open acknowledgement of having human listeners comb through user private conversation data. However, Facebook is a perfect example of alternative data collection that is a bit more abstract, yet possibly even more insidious. I won't go too far down the rabbit hole, it would be a huge topic if I did, but Facebook, during the year 2016, facilitated the collection of data by a company called Cambridge Analytica as it propagated a quiz on the platform that would gather the data of anyone who took the quiz, as well as anyone who was friends with that person. This was possible because Facebook user data was not private by default, it was accessible by default. So when one person allowed this program to harvest their own data, they were allowing it to scrape the profiles of everyone that they themselves could see the details on. This data was then used by Cambridge Analytica for the purpose of advertising, targeted campaign influence, and third-party sale. It's naive for us to believe that our data is private at all. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever other social media is popular nowadays is obviously collecting all of our data. We see the agreements and waivers everywhere. The terms and conditions to use iTunes, for Christ's sakes, is basically north of 50 pages. But the revelation that even something like your Xbox console is listening to the conversations you have in your home, and not only that, but then human contractors are able to review that information, and it is stored on an independent server that you do not control, which could contain privileged, private, or sensitive conversations, that is a significant step forward away from the simple cataloging of internet search history. In an ideal world of benevolent corporate leadership, which does not exist, but let's pretend for just a minute here, in such an ideal world where the tech giants are secretly listening to your conversations, it might be less of a concern. If you knew that a friend would possibly hear everything that you said, while still a fundamental breach of privacy, it is easier to sleep at night if you know that they are friendly. But the reality is these are not our friends, and they do not have our best interests at heart. Tech companies are frequently subjected to data breaches, which means the private material that they hold on each and every one of us is then laid bare for the world to see. The list of data breaches for 2018 alone is quite long, and hundreds of millions of people were and are affected by it. On a surface level, when Google says that only 0.2% of conversations through their Android microphone listening program are reviewed, it may seem like not such a big deal, but if a larger chunk of those recordings are somehow exposed, which is entirely possible by the way, it would be no small issue. I've never really considered myself to be a strong advocate for data privacy. I believe in it, that's for sure, but it's more of an apathetic belief where I recognize that my own personal data is likely going to be known and used by a great many companies as a function of my job as an online creator. However, the knowledge that my Xbox might have been recording sections of my private conversations without my knowledge and without my ability to see and delete those recordings, while a human contractor may end up reviewing and listening to the things that I said without my knowledge that it was being recorded, that is enough to push the apathetic barrier even further and spur a formidable sense of distrust. This brings us back to the title. Your Xbox, among many other devices and programs in the modern world, can spy on you. It's not just a game console, though that may be its primary function. If you have a Kinect with voice enabled, it is also a perpetual microphone listening to you intently with the goal of activating on command. But if it somehow misconstrues your voice or various other sounds from your household and activates on its own, which happens on frequent occasion according to contractors, it becomes a fully enabled listening device that catalogs anything it hears, whether it be conversations with your doctor, a romantic evening with your partner, or whatever else, and human contractors have the ability to listen in. There is obviously very little that I or anyone else can do at this point. If I want to keep using YouTube, that means allowing Google to monitor everything I do on the platform. Same goes for Twitter or Facebook or any of the other platforms that compose my actual career. But there are certain simple solutions. Disable voice programs on phones, throw away the Xbox Kinect, and limit the footprint of data that you upload because the risk to reward ratio is very, very skewed. But that's it for today. Over time, I find myself becoming increasingly passionate about censorship, data privacy, and a host of other issues I used to scoff at, honestly, and think to myself, whatever, it's meaningless, because of a misplaced sense of distance. However, realizing that even my Xbox might be spying on me, even in a bit of an exaggerated alarmist sense, it really got me thinking and has helped change my perspective. Not to mention the part where Amazon Alexas started laughing at people randomly. I'm not kidding. Alexa started laughing for no reason in a lot of homes. Amazon says it was a harmless little bug, but having an AI replica laugh at me out of the blue? Yeah, no, that's not creepy at all. What the hell is it laughing for? What did it do? Like, who did it kill? I've seen too many sci-fi movies to just turn the other cheek at that shit. No way. If you want to support, there are links down below, various different memberships, merchandise, the standard YouTuber things. Also, follow the Twitter so that you can have your data watched by yet another tech giant, because that's super fun, and whatever else there is, but that's enough. I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.